This is Wyatt Reed. I'm here with Power to the People, Poder para el Pueblo, and we're outside the Nicaraguan embassy here in Washington, D.C. We're about to go speak with Nicaragua's ambassador to the U.S., Francisco Campbell, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about how Nicaragua has been responding to the Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes which have just struck in the past weeks. Unlike many of their neighbors, Nicaragua does not seem to have suffered such devastating losses, economically or in terms of human life, and we want to know just how it is that they've done that. So we're going to go inside and find out a little bit more about the model that the Nicaraguan government has to offer. Let's take a look.
Hurricane Eta impacted with Category 4 intensity on the Nicaragua, Northern Caribbean region in an area south of Bilwi, a place called Halover. It then went through into the mining area and later on into Honduras and Guatemala. The Nicaragua emergency prevention system was activated 48 hours prior to the arrival of the hurricane. The vulnerable populations were evacuated and placed in refuge facilities. We were able to get full cooperation of the population because of the model that Nicaragua has in place. It is a model that provides for direct participation of the communities in the protection of themselves and their families. As a result, there was no casualty because of Hurricane Eta. The damage to the region, to the country, as a result of Hurricane Eta, was estimated at approximately $200 million. That is damage to infrastructure, homes, clinics, hospitals, and the like. For the Nicaragua government, of course, this is significant, but the most important thing, something that is paramount in the approach of the Nicaragua government, is the protection of the lives of the people. And in this respect, the handling of the emergency was very good, very effective, and it tells a lot about the discipline and the organization that exists in Nicaragua in dealing with natural disasters. We have in place really a culture of prevention that relies heavily on the actual participation of the people in the defense of their community, in the defense of their own lives. This is the key to everything that we do: popular participation, popular involvement. This is the secret of our approach. It is the essence of what we refer to as participatory democracy. people directly involved. And the way in which we handled Hurricane Eta is a testimony to the effectiveness of that approach. Hurricane Iota that impacted Monday night came almost in the same area as Hurricane Eta. And of course, the government adopted the same approach in dealing with Hurricane Iota as it used in dealing with Hurricane Eta. The route of this hurricane was very similar as well. But going back to what the government did, we activated, once again, our prevention model, participatory democracy, in which the vulnerable populations were evacuated, taken to refuge sites, and while there have been material destruction once again on the Caribbean side of the country that was impacted previously by ETA, there was no loss of life at all on the Caribbean side. Where we had the unfortunate loss of life was in the Matagalpa area and parts of Carazo and Nueva Segovia. The most significant loss of life occurred when there was a major mudslide in Matagalpa. A family who had been evacuated decided to return to their homes to take some necessities that they felt they needed back to the refuge. And unfortunately, while they were there, the mudslide came. That the mudslide is due primarily to the large amount of water, the saturation of water in the area, and tragically, these people got caught up in a mudslide. Another two little girls in Carazo also drowned when they left the refuge site and they got caught up in a flash flood in a river in that area. So once again, even though we have a significant material destruction in the form of damage to infrastructure such as bridges and homes and clinics, hospitals, and so on and so forth, our system once again proved to be extremely effective. And we are not surprised by this. We are not in the least bit surprised. Every year, Nicaragua carries out 4 national exercises precisely designed to prepare the population to deal with natural disaster. And so when a natural disaster begins to threaten, the Nicaraguan people know exactly what to do. If you need to be evacuated, you will be evacuated. You know where you need to go. The various institutions have in place the necessary response food supplies are also in place to deal with the effects and the consequences. So we are prepared, we are organized, and that is why Nicaragua has been able to deal with these natural disasters in an effective way. We believe that the Nicaraguan people can be proud of how we handle these two hurricanes. It was a clear expression of the effectiveness of the model that, as I said before, we have in place and we keep ready and alert to deal with any situations that might arise. We are a country that is exposed to hurricanes. We are a country that is exposed to tsunamis. We are a country that is exposed to earthquakes. We are conscious of all of these threats, and that is why we are always organized, always prepared, and able to respond effectively to any threat to the safety and security of our country.
I would like to just go a little bit more in depth here, because obviously it's a fairly successful model that Nicaraguans have found to be able to.
I'd say it's very successful.
Yes. So very successful. What does this look like from the perspective of just an ordinary citizen? What does the government response look like? I mean, I'm here in the U.S. The government response with a lot of the coronavirus things has left some to be desired from my perspective. And we also, we deal with, I think, many people who seem to think that it is difficult to believe that a government could really care for its people in such a way. So what does this look like from the perspective of somebody who's been in the path of the hurricane? What do they get from the government? What is their response?
Oh, I am sure you go and talk to any of those people on the Nicaragua Caribbean coast, and you are going to find a lot of appreciation for the work that the government has been doing in dealing with these disasters. In 2007, I think it was, when Hurricane Felix hit the Caribbean coast, when the government sent out the Navy to remove people from the Pearl Keys, for example, there was a lot of people who were a little bit reluctant to leave. And as a result, some people actually died. This time around, when the naval vessels and the fishing boats went to the Pearl Keys and told them it's time to evacuate, everybody was on board, ready to evacuate. Why? Because they have seen that the government is very serious and that it is looking out for the people, wanting to ensure their protection. They are conscious of that, and they have been participating, as I said, in these exercises that are carried out every year, 4 times every year. And so when the Navy people show up and say, a hurricane is coming, it's time to leave, there was no question. Everybody knew that they had to be evacuated and put to safety. And so it has become part of the culture, I would say. The culture that says we need to protect ourselves, and in order to do so effectively, we must follow the guidelines that the government sends out.
So take me through a little bit of this culture change that's happened, because the last time that Nicaragua was faced with the Category 5 hurricane was a devastating time, Hurricane Mitch in '98. 3,800 people lost their lives. The devastation was enormous and stayed with Nicaragua for many years. This time, though, it seems like a really 180-degree shift in how people have been able to come together under this government's model to really get just a dramatically different result. So what else can you tell me about how this sort of shift in the perspective has taken place in Nicaragua?
Well, it's really the nature of the government that you have in place. The government in Nicaragua, the Sandinista government in Nicaragua, is deeply rooted in the hopes and the dreams and the aspiration of the people. That's the essence. We have a model of participatory democracy, a model that ensures that there is effective direct participation in the people in the affairs that affect their daily lives. It's not a question of just sending out an order from Managua and immediately it's going to be adhered to. On the contrary, it is a conscious awareness of the things that we need to do together in order to protect ourselves, to protect the country, to promote development through direct participation of indigenous people of Afro-Caribbean descent, women, you name it. There is a direct participation in the democratic process. And that lends itself to being able to respond to any situation. For example, Nicaragua is the most effective country in Central America in dealing with drug trafficking and organized crime. Why is that? Because we have a police model that provides for direct involvement of the people in guaranteeing their own safety and their own security. You talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. Nicaragua has performed excellent. Why is that? Because of the model that we have. It's a community-oriented model that differentiates us from the rest of the region. And that is why we have great success in dealing with natural disaster. Why? Because the people are directly involved. Great success in dealing with this pandemic. Why? Because the people are directly involved. Our model of participatory democracy is the key to our ability to deal with disasters, to deal with threats to the safety and security of our people and our country.
That's you touched on a couple of things that actually I'd like to discuss just a little bit more while we still have you. Specifically, the police model, la mano suave is how I've heard it described, the soft hand approach, which obviously, again, the results sort of speak for themselves in terms of the effectiveness of such tactics. And also, you touched on the Caribbean coast, which is obviously a very diverse part of the country and of the world in general. So perhaps you could just speak a little bit more to kind of, tell us a little bit more about what we might not know about Nicaragua's Atlantic coast and the process of the national project in Nicaragua, and where the people there fit into and see themselves fitting into this larger sort of change within the culture of the country, and also the police model too, if you would like to comment on that too.
First, the police model. I don't refer to it as mano suave. I think about it as the people themselves being involved in ensuring their own safety and their own security. You create awareness of the importance to be on the alert of possible activities that might undermine the security of the family, the security of the community. Everyone being aware of their responsibility to each other. That's the essence of what's behind our approach. Direct participation, direct involvement, the community taking on responsibility for itself. And the police work very close with that community, with that vision as to how policing must be carried out. And that's why we are a model to the rest of the region. Direct involvement of the people in protecting their own safety, their own security, working very closely with the authorities that have the responsibility of ensuring that their work is effective and beneficial to the community. With respect to the Caribbean coast, I think that's a wonderful example that Nicaragua is showing to the rest of Latin America, and indeed to the rest of the world. We have a region in which it was the first time in Latin America was in 1987, when a Latin American country recognized that it was multi-ethnic and multicultural. The first time, the Nicaragua Constitution of 1987 recognized that Nicaragua was multi-ethnic and multicultural. All of a sudden, a segment of the population, the indigenous people and the Afro-descendant people, who were never really seen as legitimate members of the Nicaragua society, all of a sudden, the government recognized in the Constitution the multi-ethnic and multicultural nature of the country. A few years afterwards, Colombia followed suit. But no other Latin American country has made that statement. They all consider themselves to be Hispanic, Catholic, and Spanish speaking. The Afro-descendant component and the indigenous component are virtually ignored. Nicaragua changed that. In 1987, we succeeded in doing that. But we went further. We also created two autonomous regional governments, the Northern Caribbean Autonomous Region and the Southern Caribbean Autonomous Region. And those regional autonomous governments, by law, must guarantee the participation of indigenous people and people of Afro-descendant in the Regional Autonomous Council, which is the governing body in the region. And that regional autonomous government has the responsibility to ensure that the peoples of the region, indigenous people, Afro-descendant people, mestizo people, that they participate effectively in the administration of the affairs of their region, guaranteeing the proper use of the natural resources of the region in such a way that it benefits the people of the region. And we went a step even further. The government approved the recognition of the right to indigenous property, communal property. And as of now, the regional government, the national government in Nicaragua has given out communal property titles to land on the Nicaragua Caribbean coast that's equivalent to the size of El Salvador. Now, get your head around that. The government is guaranteeing that the indigenous people, the people of Afro-American descent, Afro-Caribbean descent, and also the mestizos who live in the Caribbean coast are able to participate effectively in the administration and in the benefits of the proper use of the natural resources of the region. Nicaragua is a model to other countries in Latin America. And we continue to build on those accomplishments because the task before us is a daunting one, but with the effort of the people, as demonstrated in how we deal, for example, with these two hurricanes, the direct participation of the people is what's going to ensure the success of the Nicaraguan society, the success of the Nicaraguan people as we move forward.